Today's lesson is lesson 71, and it is going to be kind of cool because we get to see how three things work together, which are fractions, percents, and decimals. Fractions, percents, and decimals. Now, these three are very, very closely related, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, is how they are connected with each other. Now, the easiest thing for us to do is, let's take a look at a circle. So draw yourself a circle and split it in half and shade in one half. Now, if we were to give three names for what we are looking at here, the first one we could use is the fraction 1/2. That is 1/2 of the circle is shaded. Now we can also say 5/10, because if I were to divide that into 10 pieces, 5 of them would be colored in, because remember, 5/10 is actually the fraction 5/10. So we just write it as 5/10. Now, the third way that we can write that is in the form of a percent. Now, a percent is actually over 100. Percent means out of 100. Well, if you look here, and how would you get from this one to this one? We added a 0 in the denominator, so we would need to add a 0 in the numerator, and so that would be 50%. So 1/2 equals 5/10, which equals 50%. If you can remember, from the fraction to the percent means we're out of 100 when we are looking at the percent. Now, there are going to be a few of these that you just have to memorize. 1/2, 0.5, 50% is an example of one of those that just needs to be memorized. Now, another one that we can do without the picture is 1/10 is our fraction. Well, this one's easy because we know as a decimal, the first place is the tenths, so 1/10. Then remember that our percentage is always going to be out of 100. So if we added the 0 to the denominator, we'd need to do the same thing to the numerator, and that would be our percent, which is 10%. So again, that's another one that you just need to be able to know. You don't have to figure anything out. You just need to know it and to memorize it. Another one would be if we had 1/4. So 1/4 would need to be turned into a decimal. Now, this is how you can do it if you don't have it memorized, which this one is one you will have memorized. But if you don't have it memorized, you can do it as a division problem like the fraction itself is, except I'm going to add in a decimal place and 2 after it. So I would say 4 does not go into 0. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. I have 2 left over. 4 goes into 20 5 times. So my decimal would then be 0.25, which this time, if you read it, it's 25 hundredths. That second place value means hundreds. So then I know that to get to my percent, well, that's easy because I already have 2 decimal places. I'm already out of 100, so it would be 25%. So just be aware that you can do a division problem if you don't have it memorized, remember 4 goes into 1. Here, 4 goes into 1, and I have to add my decimal place to do it that way. Remember, if you have it out of 10, you have to add a 0 like we did over here. If it's already out of 100, we don't have to add a 0. But to get the percents, we have to be out of 100, like we were right here and like we were right there. So 1/4 is another one that you would want to have memorized. We'll be playing with these tomorrow with the activity from your book, but I'd like to finish up today with just making a chart that keeps everything organized as far as the ones that we need to be familiar with and the fractions, percent, decimals that we have to know. So let's start off with 1/2. Give it to me as a decimal, 0.5, as a percent, 50%. Then we'll go to 1/4. I know we just did these, but we're going to put them in our chart anyway. 25 hundredths, which is 25%. And 1/10, which is easy because it's 1/10, and that would be 10%. Now, some of the ones that are a little bit harder to know, but you just want to memorize them so you don't actually have to do the division out, is 1/3, which is 0.3, and actually we would say 0.33 repeating. We'll talk about that when we're together. But then your percent is 33 1/3%. For 1/5, which is a little bit easier one, 1/5 is 0.2, which is 2/10, which is 20% or 20 out of 100. And the last one is 1/6. This one, like the 1/3, is a little bit odd. 1/6, which is 0.125, and that one is 12.5%, or you can call it 12.5%. So there again, a chart of fractions, then decimals, and then percents. You do need to be familiar, and basically you should have memorized all of these, but these are the ones that are easiest to remember and that you will use most often. So make sure you know those. We'll be playing with these a little bit in class tomorrow, but keep this chart, look it over, make sure you kind of understand how it works, so when we play with these tomorrow, it'll make more sense to you then. Have a wonderful evening.